Whiskey is a hybrid of magic and science, a blend of old traditions and new innovations, with many things still going above my head. I've even briefly been a distiller, and there are some phases and parts of the whiskey world which still baffle me. One of them is the process which makes some of your favourite whiskies chewy, chunky, such an oily texture they could be invaded. So join me, Jeff Whisky, and let's open this can of grubs and talk about Wormtubs and my 5 favourite wormy whiskies. If this sounds good, slap a like and let's crack on.
Jeff Whisky.
So diving into something that sounds more like it belongs in a horror movie than a whiskey distillery, the Wormtub. Not some cursed contraption filled with slimy creatures, it is one of the coolest, oldest and most loved pieces of whiskey making kit out there. Only about 20 out of the 150 plus Scotch distilleries use this process. If you've ever wondered why whiskies like Mortlach, Craigellachie, even Dalwhinnie are described to kind of taste extra meaty or funky, that could be down to Wormtubs doing their thing. So what is a Wormtub? Starting simple, a Wormtub is basically a traditional way to cool down alcohol vapour during distillation. Normally, especially more modern distilleries, they'll use a condenser, basically a fancy copper pipe system with loads of little tubes that efficiently cool down the spirit. But in a Wormtub system, we're talking about one big coiled copper tube, hence the worm, sitting in a big wooden or metal vat filled with cold water. I think it should be called the boa constrictor condenser. Less catchy though. Imagine one of those long curly straws you used to get as a kid, except instead of Ribena, it's whiskey vapour running through it. And as the vapour cools down in the coil, it turns back into the liquid. That's your spirit condensed.
You make it sound so easy.
However, this process is not energy or time efficient, and it's a lot harder to maintain. Also, a shell and tube condenser takes up nowhere near as much size and space of Wormtubs. So you might be thinking, if they're old, bulky, harder to keep going, sounds like I'm talking about myself there, but why are some distilleries still using them? Even new distilleries have implemented them.
I'm going to make this way harder than it needs to be.
For many, it's tradition. These Wormtubs are part of their whiskey's DNA. Distilleries like Mortlach, Oban, Edradour, Craigellachie all use them, not because they're hipster about it with like Polaroid cameras and vinyl, but because it gives their spirit a unique character. You can't exactly swap out a Wormtub and expect the whiskey to taste the same. It's like swapping your nan's Arga for an air fryer. It just doesn't cook up the same magic. Though as a dad in his early 30s, I am very team air fryer.
Oh, this is just my air fryer. You don't have an air fryer? Get a grip.
By doing this process, there is less copper contact than shell and tube condensers, leading to a heavier spirit. So with that process, let's talk about what Wormtubs actually do to the whiskey. In whiskey making, the copper is kind of like a mint at the end of a meal. It kind of takes away any unwanted smells. When the spirit vapour touches copper, it reacts and removes sulphur compounds and heavier elements. Now Wormtubs, being one long coiled pipe, it doesn't have as much copper contact as modern condensers. Less copper reaction, and therefore more of those heavy, meaty, funky compounds stay in the spirit. We could also dive into chill filtration, but that's for another video. So Wormtub whiskies tend to be meaty, rich, robust and chunky. They can also be described as sulphury or dirty, sometimes in a good way, sometimes not.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Mortlach is a prime example. They literally call it the Beast of Dufftown. And that's not just marketing fluff. The Wormtubs help give it that deep, savoury, almost umami flavour. Of course, Craigellachie is another. Their whiskey has a slightly oily, old leather and pineapple kind of vibe. Without the Wormtub, it probably tastes like a totally different distillery. So there are lots of pros for Team Worm. Heavier flavours, bold, rich, meaty, complex. This can be great for adding body to blended whiskey. There is a reason why 1/3 of Diageo malt distilleries, the brand behind Johnny Walker, has Wormtubs. There is this distinct character. You can often tell when a whiskey comes from a Wormtub distillery. Maybe not like directly pulling that blind, but there is this kind of signature weight to the liquid. Of course, tradition and heritage. It's romantic, right? There's something beautiful about keeping that kind of Victorian engineering alive. It's a bit like why folk like steam trains. They don't make them like this anymore.
I like singing. I like dancing.
I like trains.
And honestly, from a branding and marketing point of view, it is a slice of marketing gold. Our distillery still uses Wormtubs. It's basically whiskey speak for we're old fashioned and proud of it. Now of course there are some downsides, otherwise there'd be so many more distilleries doing this. They are inefficient. Wormtubs are hard to control. Maintenance can be a nightmare. It's literally a giant tub of cold water and a coiled copper pipe. You've got algae, corrosion, and of course finding the space for it. With all this, there's less flexibility. Modern condensers let you tweak your spirit character easily. Wormtubs, not so much. Still, distilleries that stick with them will tell you that the hassle is worth it. It's all about that texture and flavour, getting the balance between traditional and enthusiast love techniques with running a profitable distillery.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
So to now what you're here for, of course I've shoehorned in a list in this video, my 5 Wormtub picks, and I'm going to be starting with a curveball. This distillery doesn't normally get mentioned in these wormy circles, and that is Talisker with the Port Rouge? This is Talisker finished in port casks, 45.8%. Possibly my favourite release from this distillery. It has those standard salty notes and mixed in with more red berries, ginger, chocolate, and there is a bit of a meaty thing going on here. I would say more sweet salted meats, and overall this is on the lighter side of that Wormtub funk and heaviness. I do need to try Talisker at cask strength to see if that has more Wormtub nuance to it. More. Next we're coming in with Springbank 15. That little label just flew off. As mentioned previously, this is a Wormtub release, and while again on the lighter floral side, it does fall into that category. This bottle does get a lot more attention in my sherry video if you want to check that out. For me, I think the sherry maturation does more of the chewy chunk here than the Wormtub interaction, especially compared with their limp handshake of the 10-year-old. Still, this is a very good whiskey, and let's enjoy it before it gets neutered.
Look how they mask with my boy.
We are now off to Islay and talking about the newest distillery with a Wormtub. They are bringing it back like wide leg jeans, going to Edradour and with a niche release, and that is the Aquavitae small batch 6-year-old. I've got a full review on this bottle if you want to check that out, and every Edradour I've tried so far are great. It has that dark green, dangy purple Wormtub tang. There is almost this kind of chewy leather-like quality. For me, this is quite a fresh, slightly fizzy, friendly peat punch. It is fantastic and has great depth and build to it. A real chewy whiskey, and that could possibly be down to those Hubba Bubba tub worms. So now we're getting really meaty, taking me to Funky Town on a burnt out tractor, stopping in of course at Campbelltown. We are talking about Springbank. For me it's the Springbank 10. This is the only one I have in my possession, but the 15 possibly is more funky, but not as good as this in my view. Chewy, old school, and lives up to the wormy word. I have a love-hate thing with this distillery. Well, more of like a side eye and a thumbs up, but check out the full Springer video for that. The runner-up, which I sadly haven't replaced, has got to go to the mighty Edradour Signature 10 release. That's just such a good, umami, sweet, sour slap in the snout, funky flamingo of a whiskey. I've covered it years back, so probably don't go and check that one.
Something's gonna get a spank. No, not you. Remember, Jeff Whisky said about the thing with the thing and the thing for Jeff. Yeah.
Oh Go on then, I'll do it as well. Edradour themselves, outside of the signatory range, are making positive adjustments to us nerds, so it's probably about time I revisit. But now, of course, there's no shock here. The face of Wormtub's, a whisky so traditional it knees hurt. I don't need to give you 13 reasons why this is number one. Of course, Craigellachie 13. This is a bottle that gets the rare repeat purchase treatment from me. It is so chewy, there might as well be worms inside to munch on this. A grubby, dirty delight, old school, meaty and just wonderful. All this is making me want to open this one, but I really need to make more of a dent in the bottles behind first.
You know what I'm hearing, Muck? Pour me. Pour me. Pour me another drink.
It is the Wormtub poster boy, the aesthetics, the liquid, it's all king worm here. Could I have included that kill care and mushroom magic in this? So yeah, Wormtubs, they're not fancy, they're not efficient, they're definitely not modern, but they are one of the reasons some whiskies have that big, bold, characterful punch we love. The Whiskies version of playing vinyl instead of Spotify, a little creaky, a little stubborn, more work but full of more warmth and depth that's hard to replicate digitally. So next time you pour a dram from a distillery that uses Wormtubs, raise a glass to those long coils quietly doing their thing, because without them, whiskey might be just a little less beastly. If you've enjoyed this, do all those good YouTube things. Massive cheers to the bottle slappers who make these videos possible and get early releases, bonus bits, voting on what comes up. I'm grateful to have you here. All the best and cheers to the next one.